Hi, folks. I can see you all starting to trickle in. And I hope those of you that are signing on by phone have access to a screen version of this webinar, as I will be sharing slides, which will be available afterwards, but it might be a little hard to follow if you don't have a screen in front of you. So here we are. Looks like we are running up. Hi, Tanya. Tanya's already showing you how people can use the chat function. And y'all can probably see me. I'm Mari Qureshi, but my colleagues are also on, but their video screens are off for the time being. We'll turn them back on once we get to Q&A. And we have 86 attendees. I can't recall how many people signed up, but I know it was over 100. So we might wait a couple of minutes just to make sure people have a chance to log on and sort out their technology. All right, 91. The dog walked by, is that right? I can't see because I'm looking at the screen. I thank you, Robert. You're correct. All right, so I'm going to ignore that dog biting on the rug and get started. Hi, everybody. This is Mari Qureshi. I am the president of the Jesse Paul DuPont Fund, and thank you so much for joining me at this webinar. This is, it's been a while since I talked to you, but this is really the start of our fall programming. And I will be going through a number of different organizational effectiveness strategies and programming that we have for you. And I'm going to start sharing screens here. Okay, here we go. Welcome. And I am going to be talking throughout, but I would like to encourage you to make active use of two functions on this webinar. One is the chat box, which you all have already effectively used, including letting me know that the dog's chewing on a rug, and the Q&A box, where you can put in questions that you have as I am talking, and questions about what the program it might be about. I will not pause during the presentation to take the Q&A, but at the end of the presentation, we'll take all the Q&A and start answering them. It could be either me or one of my colleagues, but we'll make sure And if we don't get to your question, we will also make sure that you get an answer one way or the other by email or something else. And a reminder, which you all probably saw on the screen, this session is being recorded so that other people who were not able to join us today can join us. And I'm going to start off by asking how you all are doing. And there will be a poll that pops up on your screen asking you with some multiple choice answers. I love it. Everyone's hanging in there. And the majority of you are working from home, but a good number of you are working from your office, 40%. So great. Thank you for letting us know how you are. So I'm going to keep moving and take you as on to why we have scheduled this whole series of programming for you. You don't need me to tell you that life's turned upside down. The pandemic alone was something, but the economic downturn that resulted as a result of the shutdowns we had to do because of the economic has led to large and unpredictable change. And for any organization, whether for-profit or nonprofit, it really puts the onus on figuring out how we can adapt and how we can innovate and survive in this extraordinary time. So in other words, you have to prepare for a new normal. Let me give you an example of what is the new normal. This is a slide from McKinsey that shows you the growth of e-commerce from 2009 to 2019. And then 2019 up to the end of the first quarter of 2021. We have experienced 10 years growth in 3 months on the e-commerce side. And I'm sure not a single one of you has not participated in that e-commerce growth. But you can tell, even just in this narrow space of e-commerce, the change has been vast. And that's not to mention, all the changes that have taken place in healthcare and education, all the areas that we operate in. So in order to meet this challenge, we are preparing a series of programming for you that are entirely opt-in, but here's a summary of what we have lined up for you. First and foremost, probably of greatest interest to most of you, is a structured course around digital fundraising. And this course will have webinars, we'll have one-on-one consultations, we'll have workshops, and this is all designed to help you fundraise in 2020. The course will go on into 2021, but this is designed to be news you can use for either Giving Tuesday, which is coming up in early December, or just end of the year fundraising. The organization is called Lightful. They are based in the UK, and they have worked with countless organizations to do exactly what we hope they might be able to do for you. And on each of these, I'm going to go into greater detail, so don't fret. Another organization that we have lined up training for you on is Candid. Now, you may not, Candid is not exactly a household word, but you may remember the organization GuideStar. GuideStar.org and the Foundation Center merged last year to become Candid. And in full disclosure, I was for a long time the chair of GuideStar and was last year the chair of Candid. But it is the organization around nonprofit data. And we have a series of courses that you can take to increase your transparency to donors through Candid. Another organization, we'd like to see if they can increase your capacity in measuring. Here I've said measuring client satisfaction, but it's really a whole lot more than that. It is about talking to your constituents continuously and generatively and closing the feedback loop with them. I sometimes when I give talks about broken feedback loops in the nonprofit sector, I draw the analogy, talking of dogs. You buy your dog dog food, right? And you think you're making good choices. You're like, lots of meat and blueberries and cranberries and whatever they put into dog food. But honestly, I've never tasted dog food. I have no idea. Does my dog like it? Does he, like it better than something else? I don't know. But I'm doing the purchasing and he's doing the eating. Frequently in the nonprofit sound context, donors are buying the services and there's a completely different group of people consuming the services. So this is why feedback loops are so important in the social sector, and we can be much more thoughtful about them than we are today. The last two are a little bit more specific. Complete College America is an organization that has worked to date with public tertiary education institutions, so public state university systems, but they are interested in beginning to work with small liberal arts colleges, and they are willing to pilot with us, the Jesse Paul DuPont Fund, to work with you, our grantees. So the Complete College America is focused on increasing first-gen and low-income student retention, but it is a program that is exclusively for liberal arts colleges. Finally, the NCCD program around debiasing data. NCCD stands for the National Council on Juvenile Crime and Delinquency. It's a mouthful that actually doesn't do justice to what they do, but they have been working for many years now with social agencies, social service agencies, managing their intake and monitoring processes with their clients. And as a result, they're very experienced working with data and with systems. And they have, over the years, discovered a lot of ways in which those systems and the way we collect the data can lead to structural inequity. So they are interested in working with a select few of you around debiasing data. So I'm going to go deep now. But this tells you a little bit of what we are trying to do. We're trying to increase your effectiveness, and we're trying to increase your resilience, and we want to increase the transparency of all of that work so that we can, in fact, show how effective you are and get you more and more donors. So I'm going to jump in here to Lightful. Lightful, as I said, is a digital fundraising organization. They have put together a program called the Bridge Program. It's a 6-month program tailored to your needs to allow you to raise funds primarily digitally. And I think the important thing to note here is that they have worked with many organizations, and the statistics on a program that was funded by the Gates Foundation, those participants increased a 44% increase in fundraising, a 25% increase in confidence around digital fundraising, and a 54% increase in social media engagement. So those are stats you can take to the bank. We will be inviting you to apply in the 1st of September. There's a deadline, and they will be, it's a lightly competitive process. You will have to meet certain requirements. So successful applicants will be informed on the 14th of September, and after that, you're off to the races. This is going to have a series of live and recorded interactions, masterclasses, one-on-one sessions. And I know some people who have gone through this program, and I think you will really enjoy it. Next is transparency. Oh, sorry. I should have asked about your interest in digital fundraising. And we're asking about whether you have the capacity to do it now, because we're actually interested in finding out if we should be repeating certain types of programs. So if you're not available right now, don't worry, you can still express interest. All right. 89 of 108 of you have responded. And some of you may not be able to respond if you're on the phone, but all right. So it looks like 80% of you are interested. 14% of you are interested but can't do it right now. And 7% of you are not interested. So just briefly sharing results here so that you can see. And I'm going to go on to Candid. And here, I do have a baseline poll that's going to get shared. Is your organization currently sharing data via Candid? What is Candid? Yes. Okay. So it looks like the majority of you are not on Candid, and a good number of you have no idea what Candid is. And so I'm going to go ahead and take that opportunity to let you know what it is. Candid, as I mentioned, is a merged entity after Foundation Center and GuideStar came together. And here's why we're working on this with you. One is that GuideStar.org has data on every single 501c3 in the country. And they have that data primarily from your IRS 990s. They get that data, digitize it, and post it. So if you are a donor, you can go to GuideStar.org and make sure that whatever charity you are planning to give to is an organization in good standing with the IRS. And if you're curious, you can go into their 990s and other things and see what their financials are. So as you can see here, there are GuideStar profiles that are rich in information. This is, Exceptional Minds, I think, is a real 501c3, and a profile that is not very rich in information. And how do you make sure that your page on Candid is rich information? By providing data directly to Candid instead of waiting for them to pull it from the 990 database that the IRS makes available. As you make that data available, you achieve seals of transparency. So you can have anywhere from bronze to platinum levels of transparency. That simply indicates to donors and anyone else out there that you are an organization committed to transparency and showing people your work. Why does it matter? Because that data through Candid's APIs goes through to all of these programs. If you've ever wondered where, Fidelity Charitable, the largest donor advised fund in the US and the world, gets their data, they get it through Candid. I don't know if you've ever been asked to designate a nonprofit to give to on Amazon Smile. That program relies on Candid's data. So the better data you have on Candid, the better you will show up on these platforms. Now, in the case of Fidelity Charitable, they're getting data on all 501c3s. Some of the data is rich, some of the data is not rich. But there are other programs where donors will look at the candid list and say, okay, I just want to see the platinum seal holders. I don't want to see anybody else. That's when it starts mattering which organizations have platinum seals versus bronze seals. So this is a program that we have put together to figure out how you can optimize your GuideStar Candid nonprofit profile to reach millions of potential donors. And there are different levels. If you're already bronze, you can figure out how to get to silver. If you're already gold, we can figure out how to get you to platinum. This is all paid for by us. It's just a question of first come, first serves, because they can only serve 25 organizations in each of these sessions. So, poll, who's now interested in learning more about becoming, earning some of these seals on Candid? Looks like the vast majority of you are interested. With 81 people responding, you've got 83% interested. So this is great. Thank you for your feedback. And now you know what Candid is. I'm going to keep going. Feedback labs. This is about, as I said, closing the feedback loop. And it is all about achieving impact by listening to constituents and better outcomes. And it is also the right thing to do. There's evidence out there that if you collect feedback, and you've got a poll going right now, if you're one of those organizations that collect feedback, you are going to be more likely to achieve better outcomes. The other thing is that if you start collecting feedback from the people you seek to serve, and if you ask them for how you might achieve better outcomes, you're actually bringing these people in to the decision making and the design process. And that's really how the better outcomes come about. It's also the right thing to do, but you knew that. This is going to be a series of webinars on how you can collect data, some of the tools that you can use to collect data, how to ensure that after you collect the data, it doesn't remain an extractive process where you extract data from people and just kind of work on it yourself. It is all about trying to make sure that you collect it, understand it, and get back to the people who gifted you that data. And then doing so continuously in a way that is generative and designed to get better impact. Let me also add that doing things like the kind of programs that Feedback Labs can help design for you is one of the ways you can get to platinum status. Because if you do not measure, if you do not talk to your constituents, you cannot achieve platinum status. So for all those people who are interested in Candid, this is one of the ways in which you can increase your level in Candid. Next is equity in education. Oh, sorry. Before I go there, are you interested in the Feedback Labs program? And again, I note that this is independent of timing. So it could be that you're not ready right now, but if you're ready in the future, we will keep this data on hand to make sure that we take that into account when we think about programming for next year. All right. So lots of you are interested in participating in the Feedback Labs program. That's great. Next is the Complete College America program. As we noted, it is specific to liberal arts colleges, and we would like to pilot with up to 15 grantees and liberal arts colleges and universities. They will be drawing on the Complete College America will be drawing an experience that they gained with 47 member public post-secondary systems. And it is all about promoting policies that remove structural barriers to student success and to eliminate systemic barriers for students of color, first-gen students, adult learners, people living in rural areas, sparsely populated rural areas, underdeveloped urban areas, all of the above. This is a process where the selection process and the data process will begin in 2020, but will go on into 2021. There'll be intro webinars, etc. There is going to be a heavy data component to this, but I promise that it'll pay off. Do we have a poll for this one? Or is this too small? I think maybe we decided that this was such a select group of people, we didn't want to throw up a poll. So I'm going to keep going. Final one is around data inequity by the National Council on Crime and Delinquency. What does your data? Oh, you are. Oh yeah, no, this is a data question. Has your organization considered the potential bias in your data? Oh, this is an interesting one, much more distributed. Excellent. So many of you have not begun exploring that question. So maybe it is right that this is actually a small program that we hope to undertake with a pilot cohort this year. And as they go through the process and as they learn more, we hope to bring their learning back to you all so that you can see the ways in which those pilot organizations learn from this process. So the truth is, the way you ask the data, the questions you ask, and how you analyze that data can actually code structural inequity into your systems. And it's going to be very specific to any organization, depending on whether you're a social service agency, an educational nonprofit, or a health nonprofit. But in each of these contexts, there are ways in which the way we collect data, the questions we ask, how we analyze that data can lead to structural inequity that you may not even be aware of, because the biases are baked in to your primary sources. Then you do your analysis and start designing your programs on top of that analysis, the conclusions you draw from that analysis. And lo and behold, you have ended up designing a program that is not based on full participation. So NCCD has done a lot of research around this, and they have agreed to pilot with us how they might work with you all to do, this is for 5 organizations. So it's a very small, very exclusive program. But we hope that those 5 organizations can sort of lead the way for the other grantees in our portfolio by coming back and explaining what it is that they learned and how their data, how they learned to debias their data. This is going to be one of those programs where 2020 is going to be all about selection, and the actual program is 2021 and even running into 2022. So last two slides here are going to talk about cohorts. Oh, yes, and there's a poll about, are you interested in learning more about how to debias your data? Awesome. Lots of organizations interested in learning more. Some of you are interested now. Some of you don't have the capacity to do it now. But this is great. Perfect. This is just an overview slide of all the different programs I just talked about, who they're directed towards, how many of you will get to participate in those programs. And then the next slide that I'm going to show you is a timeline slide. So it gives you a little bit of a sense of how long these programs will run. Lightful is the one that's really heavy in Q4 2020, as it should be. Complete College America, there's a little bit of a lift, but it's primarily around data. Everything else is heavily weighted towards 2021. So for those of you who are really busy for the rest of the year, feel free to sign up for the programs in 2021. For those of you who really want to make a go of digital fundraising in the last quarter of 2020, I urge you to express your interest for Lightful. And I'm going to pause here and ask Melanie, are you in charge of the Q&A box?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great.
And I am going to stop sharing.
We have some great questions already, a few in the chat box, but if everybody can remember, if you do have questions, please put it in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your screen on the control bar. Mari, we had a couple of specific questions about Candid.
Yes.
A few folks are wondering if they had a gold seal or information on the GuideStar platform, did that automatically transfer over to Candid?
It did. In fact, if you go to Candid and look up the seals, it's still under guidestar.org. So whatever you had on GuideStar is still what you have on Candid.
Great.
You do need to update it every year, though. It's not over and done.
Continuing on the Candid specificity, Kate Moorhead was asking if churches are automatically listed on Candid.
Do you find 990s? If you do, you are.
So that sounds like
I don't know if that's helpful, Kate. If you do file a 990, then you're on Candid.
Great. Reverend Lynn Payne is wondering if it's possible to have more than one person from the organization apply to participate in these courses.
Oh, sure.
A question from an anonymous attendee asking about the selection process for the Complete College America project.
Maybe Barbara can answer that one.
Hello. So with Complete College America, we've already done some background work and we've looked at retention and graduation rates, four-year graduation rates. And based on that, we've pulled together an invitee list of 22 liberal arts colleges and 2 minority-serving public institutions. Those 22 institutions will be invited to a webinar where we do some introductory, this is what this project is all about, so you can hear more detail. And then 15 organizations will then be selected from that 22 to participate in the program. So you get to raise your hand and say, we're interested, this is what we're interested in, and this is the data that we have to share. And then we'll go from there.
I suppose too, Barbara, if from the 22 organizations that are invited, you don't get 15, you could consider additional participants.
We could. So if you're not on that initial list and you are interested, you can definitely let me know, and we can keep you on the wait list.
Great.
We have a question from Michael Howland. If we're already platinum on GuideStar, is there more we must do to meet candid requirements?
No, if you've achieved platinum status on GuideStar, you are platinum on Candid. GuideStar is Candid. With the caveat that, of course, every year you need to update your data so that you maintain your status.
Great. We have a question from Joan Hodge North. She says these are exciting opportunities. Thanks, Joan. She's with the Delaware Community Foundation. They are a grantee, but not an eligible. Are they able to participate in these trainings?
For the purposes of these trainings, we're saying that any grantee can participate.
From Denise Reagan, will the Lightful courses be focused on their platform or more helpful information for any platform?
Oh, I should have mentioned Lightful is not a platform. Lightful is a digital consulting agency. So we picked Lightful specifically because they were agnostic as to which platform you all use for digital fundraising. They are perfectly happy to work with Classy, GoFundMe, whatever. So they are able to handle all of that. So keep whatever digital fundraising platform you are already committed to. And if you don't have one, they might be able to help you choose one.
Great. Denise says thanks. Going back to the CCA program, we have questions from Terry Conrad and Cindy Logue asking about whether the 22 organizations are the only eligible organizations, and also confirming that the program is for the actual college itself versus an organization wanting to learn about retention.
Barbara?
Interesting question. That's an interesting question. So it is, so I think what Mari said earlier about it's for grantee organizations. And if it's an organization wanting to learn about retention, I'd have to know who that is. That's kind of an interesting question. And it would depend if there was space available, and I'd be curious to know what that organization was. So email me separately, brule@dupontfund.org.
Great. Cindy says thank you. We have an anonymous attendee asking, well, saying wonderful tools, asking, do you recommend particular platforms, tools, partners, matrices to determine the efficacy of our operations?
I think the choice of platform depends on a lot of things. Your capacity to make good use of platforms. And so let's say, for instance, digital fundraising. Some are easier than others. Some are designed for campaign-like fundraising. Others are designed for evergreen fundraising opportunities. So depending what you are up for, that might determine your choices there. With regard to having your nonprofit profile filled out on Candid, say, that's like, you don't get to choose. It is the platform for nonprofit transparency. And if you want to achieve, if you want to show the world, and in particular donors, how transparent you are, the Candid site is really the only place you can do that as effectively. That's not to say that you can't have a rating on Charity Navigator or a rating on Charity Watch. In fact, you should. If you want to, you should go and get those. But in some ways, the GuideStar/Candid platform is the platform from which much of the data flows. And so if you're going to do one, it should be that Candid platform. After you have done the Candid platform, you're welcome to keep doing other things. I mean, just in full disclosure, we at the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund pulled data from GuideStar/Candid, and therefore one of the things we would like to do going forward is, as those profiles get filled in, some of the questions on our grant making platform, we start zeroing out because you've already answered them on GuideStar/Candid. So that means less work for you, more accurate data for all of us because you're only entering it once, and the possibility for data error is reduced. So it's a win-win.
Great. Josh McCoy is wondering if participation in these programs will impact current or future grant application eligibility.
It should not, but you know, let's be honest, we think these programs are pretty good and that they're helpful, unless of course we discover that, you know, you have a terrible time at taking these courses. So if we see you taking those courses and getting through and increasing the capacity of your organization, that tells us something about your motivations and intentions around increasing your org's capacity. That's only upside. It certainly isn't going to crowd out any grant making that we might do.
Yeah. Peter Wallace says, thanks. These are fantastic opportunities for us and much appreciated, and asks if we'll be making the slides that we presented today available.
I believe we
Yes.
will make them available via email or on our website.
Yes,
one of those ways?
We're expecting to send a note to all of our grantees with these slides and the recording of the webinar probably Monday. So you'll have all that information in your inbox. From Bob Dendy, just saying these are fantastic resources, appreciate the research, the choices, and the opportunity to pursue. Thanks so much, Bob. We have answered all the questions we see so far, so let's do one last call for questions. And while you're thinking about it, I'll just note that if you have questions specific to your organization or you want to make sure to express interest in a specific program, feel free to reach out to your program officer. You'll be getting a lot of information and invitations from the fund and also from all of these partners that we've mentioned over the next few weeks. So don't feel that you need to send a flood of emails to your program officer today to express your interest. You'll be hearing from us and getting a lot of different invitations. But if you do have questions, your program officers are always available.
Yeah, and one thing just to watch out is that as we send this stuff out, sometimes they can get caught in spam folders because we're sending to a lot of people, and spam folders are designed to catch things that are being sent to lots of people. If you think you should have gotten an email from Lightful, say, and you haven't seen it, then absolutely get in touch with the program officer because it could have well gone out and you might not have received it. So.
All right. I think we have answered all the questions.
Wonderful. So, you know, close to 100 of you participated in this webinar. I really appreciate your interest, and we will hopefully be talking to different cohorts of you again quite soon. Thanks, everybody.